You have just tapped into the Christian Life Coach Collective, and I'm your host, Laura Malone. I'm here to equip and encourage coaches in skills, business, personal life, and faith. I believe you're already 100% worthy and capable, and you're called for such a time as this. So let's get you walking it out with courage and confidence so you can be an amazing coach who sees transformation and great results in both your life and the lives around you. Let's get started. Well, happy new season. I want to impart a very deep belief to you that this is going to be a great season of your life and business. What if you believed me? What if it's actually true? How would you think and feel? What would you do? And what kind of results would you create for yourself and for others? If you're a coach, an entrepreneur, a side hustler, whatever you do, you've got a lot on your plate. But you are a real person too, with life stuff and faith stuff, and you deserve encouragement and resources and support and somebody who promotes you to the rest of the world. And you deserve to have the truth about who you are, what you're called to and capable of, and where you fit in this world. See, I know that identity, purpose, and belonging are yours. I know that because they've been set there within you from the foundation of the world. They're already within you. This is a season where you are capable of discovering what the truth is about your identity, purpose, and belonging. These are 3 things every human is searching for, and they're already there. You just need to know the questions to ask and be courageous enough to peel back the layers. You have to be willing to rise up and do the work, and I'm telling you, right now, you are capable of this. You have the capacity. I know you might not think these things are available to you because they have felt defiant to being found, resistant to you, fleeting, disappointing. You might think these things are so far away, so far removed, but I'm telling you they're not. I'm telling you, you can access a new thought and shift your paradigm. And I want you to think about this right now. What would it feel like in your body if you were to say, what if Laura's right? What if I could really know who I really am, what I'm called to do, and where I fit? What would that hope feel like to you? How would it change your mind? How does it feel in your body? What would you do if that was true? What if it's possible? Because I want to show you that it is possible, and with coaching yourself, being able to coach you and others and lead the world around you, you have the ability to create transformation inside of you and around you. Walking out the truth in your life of who you really are and who you're becoming without regret or shame or judging who you've been or where you are right now, but just owning your life story right now is so powerful. You have access to personal power by taking responsibility for where you are right now and what you're going to do. Saying, I'm actually worthy of love and growth and hope. What if you set aside all of the self-judgment and the fear of rejection, the worry about other people and what they are thinking? What if you set it aside and said, I'm worth the work, the investment, the love, the potential of becoming someone I really love being. And what if I could do that and then help other people do it as well in my coaching? I want you to grasp this and practice thinking it so it can become subconsciously this deep belief. I want you to see what is possible for you and to grasp a tangible hope that I'm speaking to you right now by shifting your paradigm. I want to help you shift it so that it changes what's happening in your life, inside of you, in your mind, emotions, and your will, so that your soul can get in alignment with the Spirit within you, Emmanuel, God within you. So you can be able to do everything that aligns with God's will for your life and step into who you're becoming. The person that God sees within you that you don't fully have perspective and view of. No matter what you've done, where you've been, if you do too much of that, not enough of that, whatever, We're not going to judge this person that you are and that you've been. We're going to believe we are sons and daughters. There is great love emanating from God, a good Father. His tangible love and presence. It's with you always. Acknowledge it. Take ownership of the fact that you are a son or a daughter. You're not an orphan. We're not always listening. We're not always looking for it. That's just part of the life journey. But God is not sitting around and shaming us and judging us and punishing us. He's actually inviting us, whether we hear him or not. Like, he's calling us towards him. He has his eye on you. So I want you to know that his banner over you is love. He says, if you're weary, if you're burdened, and you are, he says, come to me. It's okay if you don't always see that banner of love over you, it's still there. And I want to remind you of Romans 12:2. I like this in the Passion Translation. It says to stop imitating the ideals and opinions of the culture around you. Be inwardly transformed. Here, we're actually talking about the transformation of your soul, okay? By the Holy Spirit through a total reformation of how you think. And this will empower you to discern God's will as you live a beautiful life, satisfying and perfect in his eyes. We're talking about his version of perfect, not ours. His ways are higher than ours. His thoughts are higher than ours. And what he calls perfect is holy. What you and I might call perfect is based on what we see around us and like the judgment of what is good and right in our own eyes and by the standards of the world. Our version of holy and perfect is not what his is. And God brings conviction, but we tend to bring punishment and condemnation upon ourselves through the kind of judgment that we are talking about right now. But God's view of us is through the lens of grace and mercy, forgiveness and love. And I want you to hold on to this. I want you to start seeing it and believing it and grasping it, having hope in Jesus Christ and the work of the cross rather than undoing what he did by not believing that you're worth the love that he pours into you. I want you to accept the reality that the way you've been living and what's been coming out of you, all of that can shift. You have options of growth and possibility and hope that is meant to be revealed in your life and in the world. Be a light. Don't be hidden. You're more likely to hide what's going on in you if you believe and think and feel that things that you don't want people to see, things that you're ashamed of. And if you can work on your paradigm so that what you're believing in your core is manifesting in your thought life, that's going to influence your emotions and determine the actions you take and create the results that you want intentionally that will culminate in a legacy that's powerful, meaningful, and fulfilling. Is that what you want in this next season? You might be listening to this at the beginning of January 2025, but you might be listening to it years down the road or in the summer or at nighttime. I'm just saying, whatever your next season is, right? I want you to consider it. As a coach, would you like meaning and power and fulfillment and satisfaction of a legacy to be poured into your clients, your family, your church and community and workplace? Would you like that to be what flows out of you because that is what you're operating in and carrying? Adopted as a son and a daughter, an heir to the throne, instead of an orphan who's afraid, like there's not enough for you. Haven't you lived like that and thought like that long enough? Like, do you want to spend decades more of your life wasting time and energy because you're going to get to a place eventually where you're just fatigued and exhausted and intolerant, impatient, not gracious, because living like an orphan makes you act like an orphan. And when you act like an orphan, you treat other people like orphans. But everybody's got enough orphanhood in them to work out personally. They don't need us to pour more onto them at the grocery store or the dinner table. They got enough of their own. They need us to be models of grace and compassion and hope and possibility. We can be that as Christian coaches, life coach, business coach, health coach, parent, mentor, pastor, a leader, a friend, a neighbor. We can be that to them. We're called to it. I want to help you step into who you're becoming in this new season. I'm not really a New Year's resolution person. I have my own goals that I reset every season, and that season is dictated by life and God and what's going on in and around me. So we take a feasting season during the holidays, a couple of weeks, but that is shifting into a fasting season. And that's not just about food, but it's just shifting everything that we've been maybe overindulging in, actually, and shifting it into a moderation, and then letting what's happening in the natural realm affect the spiritual realm as well. So we shift from feasting and set ourselves back into a fasting season so that we can look at the next season, the quarter, the year that we're in, and really dial in to hear the word of the Lord. So that's how I operate. I operate in like seasons versus calendar dates and government set holidays or even years, really. So seasons in our life are dictated by life and by the Lord, both in business and personally. Not just the calendar, but like, what does your life require from you and pull on you for? So you have to think, what do I want out of this season that I'm stepping into? No matter when you're listening to this, what do you want in this season? What is God wanting to do with you? How can you partner with him? So let's say you're already in the middle of a season and you're like, I'm not actually getting anything done that I thought I'd do. Or I didn't even realize I was in a season. So now I realize I'm not doing anything, or I have no goals. I have no point B set, right? There's nothing in the GPS that I'm headed towards. That's okay. Decide today that it's the beginning of a new season where you're being intentional. You are choosing to rise up into the season and do something with it. I'm going to step into this. Say that to yourself. I'm going to be bold. I'm going to be courageous. I'm going to take massive action. I'm going to pursue God's heart for me and his will and see, what does he have for this season? How can I partner with him? I'm going to put my foot on the gas instead of sitting here at this stoplight with my foot on the brake and the car idling, acting like I'm going to go someplace, but I refuse to put my foot on the gas because I'm afraid, or I think I'm going to do it wrong, or God's, going to punish me if I keep going, if I push on the brake, gas and go. I'm waiting for the audible voice of God to tell me to take a left or a right or go straight. See, all of that is that waiting. There's a difference between praying and asking God to reveal himself in this season and to line you up with his will, to give you direction. Or there's a difference between that and sitting and waiting for God to tell you or make you do something like he's a taskmaster. Instead, put your foot on the gas. And then when he says, put the foot on the brake, do it. Don't live with your foot on the brake, not ever doing anything unless you're made to do it. Because that is not personal power. That's not partnering with God. That's making an excuse and wanting the audible word of God to be directing every single thing you do without taking any responsibility or taking any action, right? You don't need to do that. Go be with him. Trust that he is with you. He's going to be in the car. He'll tell you to take a left or a right or a U-turn. And let him be with you and trust in him in the process. What's he put in your heart to do? The Bible says that King David had it in his heart to build God a house of prayer. So God gave him the blueprint for it. He didn't force David to do it. He had knit into David's being a desire for God's heart to be manifest in David's life, right? So David wanted this thing, and God said, yes, let's do that. So what is in you to do that is sewn into your being, knit into your identity, your purpose, and your belonging in this one life? God's already invested it into you. It is woven in. And right now you have to find the joy in this season. Imagine if David had just said, gee, I won't do anything until God writes in the clouds what to do, or he speaks out loud to me and demands that I do this thing. I will only do something if God confirms to me that I should do it through the mouths of 20 different witnesses over the course of the next 3 years. I expect signs and wonders to tell me exactly what to do so that I cannot fail. And if I do fail, I will blame him because he's the one that told me to do it, and that's all I'm doing. Imagine if David had operated that way, if he had waited. Just think about anybody in the Bible, if they had just sat back and done nothing and said, I won't do it until God tells me exactly what to do. And they never got curious. They never experimented. They were always afraid of failing, always afraid of doing it imperfectly. Because if you can do it perfectly at all, ever, you do not need Jesus. Right? That's the operation in our soul. And it's not true. And you do not have to keep believing that. And when we treat God like he's a taskmaster, we act like a slave and an orphan, we end up doing less, or we do nothing, or we just do plain wrong. But when you step into sonship and daughtership and you act like an adopted heir because your dad is good and loving, then you can shift your paradigm so you're actually believing truth. And this is the lineage of the thoughts that you think that eventually lead to fruitfulness. So when you step into big T truth, you operate in alignment with what's going to bring favor and glorify God in your life. So I invite you to stop and sit down with a pen and paper or a device and a note-taking app and make a document and do an exercise that lays out what you really desire in this season. Don't deny it. Let it actually be revealed outside of you. What do you desire? You don't know what you really desire, and if you're just constantly unhappy, there's something out of sync between what you have in life and what you are actually wanting. So it creates a vacuum, and that steals joy, because it's not just the devil robbing joy. Like, we rob our own joy all the time by what's going on in our paradigm. So we can't blame God and devil for everything. We actually have to take personal responsibility, and we should be teaching that to our people. So I believe we have to take ownership for what we think and how we feel and what we do and what we don't do. That's on us. We have to take responsibility for our agreement with the enemy about the lies he wants us to believe, rather than just saying he makes us believe a lie. No, we choose that lie. We choose to agree with it. We choose to dwell on it, meditate on it, worry about it, and let it develop into belief systems. How we don't shift our paradigm, we can shift our paradigm and believe truth, partner with God, be sons and daughters, and we're called to do this as Christian coaches. You're called to coach others to rise up, lead well, and step into your own calling. So, if you live your life thinking everything's meaningless until you find this one big purpose out there, we're going to talk about that in this season on episodes, because it is a farce. It's a cultural lie, and it's deep in the church. I'm talking about you finding identity, purpose, and belonging. But all of those things are multifaceted, and they're seasonal. Your identity is not just, I'm a mom, I'm a coach, I'm a friend, right? There are so many facets to who you are and who you are in Christ. Your purpose is not just one thing. You're not just called to do one thing, and that if you don't get to do that, like, you're miserable and you're not fulfilling God's will for your life, right? There are so many purposes for you and a calling on your life that is a thread that goes through everything that you do. But if you believe there's just one thing that you're supposed to do, that one big purpose, and you're still not doing it, you've never found it, you don't have it, other people and situations are keeping you from it, you're always going to be dissatisfied and disappointed. So we're going to go after untangling the purpose lie. You're going to find joy right where you're at in this season, and know that you're in process and God is with you. You're growing and you're experiencing transformation within your soul, and you can celebrate it and you can help other people do it too because you're experiencing it. So I bless you to know the truth and to hear God, to feel his tangible presence upon you and your household, upon your business and your finances. I bless you to know he's a good and loving dad, not a taskmaster. And I bless you to step into adoption, to rebuke and resist and leave behind the orphanhood and scarcity and fear. I bless you to give yourself grace and compassion to be right where you are and love yourself well. And all of the time that you love yourself right where you're at, you also know there's growth you're invited to, that there's transformation, and you can move from grace to grace and work out this salvation. It's a process. I bless you to love who you've been, love where you're at and who you are, and love who you're becoming. You can do this without shaming and judging who you are, where you've been. It just requires some hope. It's possible. It's a thing. So our journey is made up of great and terrible. They're both always going to be there. How you perceive it, what you make it mean, your interpretation of what's happening in your life is going to impact everything else. So doing the work of shifting your paradigm is actually going to influence all of the spheres of life you're in. It's going to change the world around you, not just within you. So I invite you to step into this in this season, to step into love and adoption and truth, and experience the great joy and favor of God on your life in this coming season. Sit down and give yourself time to consider what it is you want. What is the desire in your heart for this season, and what has God said? What are the promises and prophetic words that have not yet come to pass? Revisit them. Hold on to what he's done. Remember how he's brought you through deep waters, through big storms and heavy winds and rain. Remember him and think about what these things are. Look at them, examine them, put your hope in the Lord around them. Even maybe detail some 1, 2, 3 action steps you could take to begin walking into them. Put them in an order of priority, because that priority is important to understand. It will shift depending on your season and what's happening in your life and what kind of responsibilities you have, but be the kind of person who is for you, not against you. God's for you, so who could be against you, right? It shouldn't be you. You shouldn't be against yourself. So lay these things out, prioritize them, give them importance, give them some deadlines, make them actionable, right? You're worthy of this work. You're worthy of love and growth and compassion and grace and mercy. Jesus said so. He said so in his life and on the work of the cross. And he's calling you to spread that message to the people around you as you shift your paradigm to be one that is supported by joy and truth and all this fruit of the Spirit. That calling is on your life. And this is a new season, the season of discovery. And you don't have to sit and wait for somebody else to tell you what this season is about. You can be intentional about it. So if you have to have a word of the year, if you have to have a resolution for this January of 2025, I encourage you to look at the word intentional and ask yourself how that can influence your resolutions, your words, your goals for this year, and sew the word intentional into it all, somehow, some way. Sew the word personal responsibility into that. Sew the words self-leadership into it. And say, I am going to walk in my true identity this year, this season. I'm going to discover how I'm actually already living in my purpose, and I'm going to find joy in it. And I'm going to discover greater purpose that I haven't even tapped into yet. And I'm going to find where I belong and connect and fit and who needs me in their lives and who I need in my life. That's what I'm going to do in this season. And then I'm going to teach that. I'm going to create content. I'm going to coach people on it. I'm going to mentor. I'm going to parent. I'm going to love well through this lens of big T truth about who I am, what I'm called to do, and what's happening in the world around me that I need to be a part of, because this light is set on a hill for all to see and glorify God. Bless you, friends. I'm excited for this new season with you. Talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. For more coaching resources and to learn how to work with me, head to sterlingandstonementoring.com or click the link in the show notes. Remember, walk boldly in your calling, and I'll talk to you next time.